have the power to love out of existence just like you love into existence. So all you really have to do is learn how to love the stuff that you don't want so much that it can't stay with you. You have to work your love power. Now, when you work your love power, that which you don't want has to get away from you. Because while you have the power to attract and repel that which you attract and repel, people who don't know what you know don't do it like you do it. So you have to use what you got to get what you want. Love is a magnet, and when you use your magnet properly, you can't help but work the way you work your stuff. I believe the founder said it works if you work it. Read that last point for me. Perfect or mature love casts out fear, and love and fear cannot coexist. Perfect or mature love casts out fear, but love and fear cannot coexist. Perfect or mature love casts out fear. Love and fear cannot coexist. Perfect, mature love casts out fear. Love and fear cannot coexist. So I'm reminded of the story of Esther. Esther was a beautiful lady who became the queen in Persia. And what Esther found herself in was a very precarious situation. I'm still talking about dreams. Esther found herself in what many might consider to be an untenable situation. Esther just became the queen. Now, I don't know if you've ever been a king or a queen, but once you become a king or a queen, it entitles you to certain things. Being in the royal palace entitles you to certain things. Esther is a new queen. So now, as a new queen, if you are just coming into your queendom, you're not going to be that willing, perhaps, to give up the new accoutrements of a queen. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? If it don't make sense, say so. It makes sense. It makes sense to a couple of you? All right. So Esther is a new queen. And as a new queen, she has also a new relationship with a new king. Is that right? So now, since Esther is now in the kingdom, she is of Jewish descent, but she's the queen in Persia. As the queen in Persia and as a Jewish descendant, that can be a little, it can be a little messed up. That can present some challenges for you, especially when there's somebody scheming in the background to do in your people, right? Now, you can see this as thought people. You can see this as family people. You can see this as yourself on your job and folks talking about what they want to do or don't do to you. However you see it, just understand where I'm coming from. Pick up what I'm putting down. So now Esther is the new queen, and she is in the palace of the king, and there is a gentleman who is also in this palace who is positioned right next to the king. I don't know if you ever know anybody who's been positioned right next to the king, but he has the king's ear, which means that what he wants might be expressed through the king. So you have to work with me. Work with me. You have to be careful who's pushing your agenda or who's pushing your buttons. That's an aside. But you have to know who you have around you, especially as you begin to work on the manifestation of your dream. Take account of who's with you. So now Esther is in the kingdom, and the decree hasn't been set, but the guy who's next to the king wants to get rid of Esther's people. Why does he want to get rid of Esther's people? Because Esther's uncle Mordecai won't do what the guy wants him to do. He wants him to bow in recognition, but Mordecai knows who he is, and so he can't bow. Do you know anything about knowing who you are and not bowing because you know who you are? If you know who you are, there are certain requests that come to you that you can't answer because you know who you are. Do you know? No, don't amen me. Do you know who you are? When you know who you are, there are certain things that you just can't do, not because you don't like how the request came, but because of who you are. Do you know who you are? So now Mordecai knows who he is, and he knows that he can't bow just because somebody is suggesting that he should bow. So now Haman is mad because Mordecai won't bow, and Mordecai won't bow, so Haman decides that all Jewish people should be killed. Are you still with me? As Haman begins to develop his plot, Mordecai catches word of it. There's always an opportunity for you to hear when the Lord is speaking. But now Mordecai gets word, and Mordecai goes to his niece, who is Esther, who is just crowned a queen. Esther is new in her stuff. She's got a good life, better than the life she just had, and I'm not so sure she's ready to give that up. So her uncle sends word that, Esther, since you are the new queen, there's got to be something that you can do or say to the king. What do you think Esther said? Esther said, the law says that I cannot come to the king unless I'm summoned. That's what Esther says. I cannot come to the king unless the king summons me. But her uncle sends back word that if you don't come to the king, if you don't come before the king, if you don't use your new status, your new station, your new position to go to the king, I believe that God will save us anyway. We're still talking about dreams. I believe that God will save us anyway. But you have to know that if you don't step into the role that you were called to step into, there might not be anything to save you. What am I saying? I'm saying that when you've come forth to bring forth a dream, you can't play scared, you can't play little, you can't play small, you can't protect your space, your station, your idea, your identity, who you think you are. You have to be willing to walk in the bigness of a dream. See, if your dream is yours and you have the love to bring it forth, that means that you have to begin to grow beyond who you think you are. Though you might be new to the dream, or though you might be new to the kingdom, that doesn't mean that the responsibility is not pressing on you to be more than who you think you are. You have to be willing, if you're going to bring your dream forward, to be more than who you think you are. You have to be willing to be bigger than who you see yourself as. You have to tap into that Esther capacity and know that if you were not supposed to be here, you wouldn't be here, because there's nothing that can put you here when it's not your time to be here. So her uncle says to her, maybe you were brought into royalty for this particular moment, and I'm saying to you that maybe the dream is in your heart for this particular moment, just for this season. Maybe there's something that's in your mind or in your heart that will save a people, or save a thought, or save a community, or save a world. Maybe there's something in you. Maybe God thought enough about you to put a dream in your heart that will make a difference in this world. Maybe God thinks enough about you to give you the capacity to pull on something that does not appear to be and bring what is not manifest into manifestation. Sometimes you just got to be brave and bold and bad enough to stand up in the position that you're in. If you were not supposed to do it, Esther, perhaps you wouldn't even be in the kingdom. But why did they choose you? They chose you because you're pretty. That's what they think. That's what they think. But God chose you because you have a dream in your heart.